Hi, my name is Johnnie W. Lewis, and I wrote this book, Don't Tarry, Terry, Get Back Home, about a little girl named Terry who lived in a very small town. Terry loved to walk all over town talking to different people every single day, but this one day everyone wanted her to get back home quickly for some silly reason. And now for Don't Tarry, Terry, Get Back Home. Don't tarry, Terry, get back home. That's all Terri Thomas seemed to hear from her mother and others. Terry liked to stop and watch things happening around their terribly tiny town. But that Saturday, Terry's mother gave her a list of places to go, pulling her little brother's wagon. Terry didn't want to spend a lot of time running errands that Saturday because it was her birthday, and Mama was making her a cake. The schoolyard was silent. School was not in session on Saturdays. Terry sighed. She wanted to swing, but she knew her mother wanted her back home soon, for some silly reason. Carry those books to the cart for me, please, Mrs. Langford, the librarian said as she handed Terry's returned readers to a teenager who worked there on Saturdays. And remember, my dear, the librarian had smiled knowingly at Terry as she left, don't tarry, Terry. Get back home. Next on the list was Miss Millie's place. Mama's moo-moo wasn't ready at Millie's Millinery Mart, so Terry sat down to wait. Two customers were leaving, but not before one asked the other, "Who will you marry, Mary?" "A cutie I met in college. He's so nice," she said before the door closed behind them. Finally, Miss Millie placed the package on the counter. Grinning broadly, she said, "And remember now, don't tarry, Terry. Get back home." Biff's best bulldog food was next on the list, at the pet shop owned by Harry's father, Mr. Hendricks. Mr. Hendricks pointed toward the back of the store as she entered and said, "Harry's next to the snake tanks, Terry." Next to the red boa constrictor was a glass tank with a giant tarantula in it. Harry watched closely as the spider ate her dinner. "I love to watch spiders eat," he laughed as Terry trembled. "But I don't like that one." Terry shook her head swiftly. "She's too hairy, Harry." Even Mr. Hendricks didn't forget to say, "Don't tarry, Terry. Get back home." My father was in the Navy, and we lived on Cecil Field Naval Air Station near Jacksonville. I loved walking wherever I could on that base. Once when I was 5, I rode my brand new bicycle toward the front gate. But the security guard at the gate stopped me and turned me around to go back home. Mama knew that I was safe anywhere I went on that base. "What does that mark mean, Mark?" she asked the boy who was painting over some graffiti on a wall. "Not much, Munchkin," he smiled, waving his paintbrush at her. "But you can't tarry today, Terry. Better beat it back home." "Mr. Brindle has better brisket," Terry remembered her mother saying. "Get me some, but you better pick up a bundle of bones for Biff while you're at it," she had said. Terry picked up the bundles at the butcher shop and tried to leave quickly, but not before Mr. Brindle could say, "Better not tarry today, Terry. Get back home." Terry loved going junking at Julie's Junction, but she'd just have to pass by the store today. Mama wanted her to get back home quickly. Mr. Green, the grocer, grabbed the green grapes as they fell out of the gray box. Grace must have greased the grooves in the conveyor too much again. Mr. Green called to his clerks, "Letty, let us put out the fresh lettuce. Candy, the candy needs weighing so Terry can leave." When Terry took the bag of candy, she knew what would be said, but she had to endure it anyway. "Don't tarry, Terry," Mrs. Green smiled. "I know your mom wants you to get back home soon." Terry grimaced. And further down the road, Wally was washing Mrs. Michael's minivan at the service station. "When you have more time, I'll wash your wagon too. But I know today you can't tarry, Terry. I'm sure they're waiting for you by now." "Who is waiting, Wally?" Terry asked in surprise. Wally just waved and wiggled the water hose at her. On her way through the park, Priscilla, the postal carrier, offered Terry a piece of papaya. But Priscilla was not a stranger, and it was okay for Terry to take fruit from her. Priscilla was really Aunt Prissy, her father's sister. "Are you coming to my house to eat birthday cake with us, Aunt Prissy?" Terry asked, poking her pinky into the pond to wave at Goldie the fat goldfish. "Oh, is it someone's birthday today, my dear?" Aunt Prissy smiled slyly. "If it is, don't tarry, Terry," she teased her tardy niece. "You must get back home soon." But Terry didn't want to go home yet. She was fascinated watching Mr. Fox fix the flat on the fire truck. At the corner, a terrier was tearing down the railroad tracks toward a tractor that seemed to be trying to till up the tracks. If she hadn't seen the scene herself, Terry would have had a terrible time believing it. Suddenly, Terry remembered her birthday cake. She had to hurry home. Mama might be through with her cake by now. She crossed carefully at the corner, then ran home with the wagon waggling all the way. Terry pulled her wagon into the garage, then carefully carried all the cartons in the back door. "Mama, I'm home," she called out. But there was no answer. She walked through the house, calling her mother's, her father's, and finally her little brother's names. On one base where we lived, there was a bright green refrigerator in the kitchen. Mama said it made her wanted to gag. There was still no answer. Where could everyone be? It was almost supper time. Finally, she pushed open the door to the dining room. Surprise! Surprise! Everyone who had made her hurry was there. What a happy birthday surprise, and an excellent reason for Terry not to tarry. I always include a glossary in the back of all the books that I write for children, specifically because there are words that some adults use that children don't know what the meanings are. So there's a glossary in the back of every book.